Good morning, all, and thanks for joining us this morning on the Quick Count, the SoFLo Sports Show, abbreviated edition of our regular SoFLo Sports Show. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope 2026 is off to a great start. I hope your 2026 resolutions you're crushing it and everything is going well. We're only 4 days in. They usually say it takes 3 weeks to make something a habit, so stick with it.
I'm kind of doing all right. I'm making my way through the year. I don't really like to start in February. You can't just make the transition from end of the year right into the new year. Plus, with football going on, it's tough to worry about calories when you're watching football, when you consume with football.
Definitely. Okay, so be sure to like and subscribe to the episode, to the channel, 305 Sports Show, 305 Sports Babe. We appreciate the love. We appreciate all you. The chat is booming right now. We have Russ in Pennsylvania. We have our brother Danny Johnson.
Danny.
Hey guys, happy New Year to you both. We have Chase in the house, the biggest Marlins fan. Cannot wait to see you this season. We have big sis Lisa. So guys, be sure if you haven't, like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us. We love the interaction from you. We love sharing content. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and before we get started talking all things Dolphins, the transition over, I want to mention 2 major stories that took place recently down here in South Florida sports.
Friday was probably, let's start with Friday.
Yeah.
So Friday was the Winter Classic down here in Miami. The 2026 NHL Winter Classic. There was a lot of controversy of this being held in Miami because it wasn't the winter vibe. Joke's on you, because it's been like 50 degrees all week, and that is definitely winter in South Florida. We were there. We're going to cover that more in this week's episode. We have pictures. I dropped a video just yesterday on YouTube, a whole behind the scenes, everything that was you could have done, could have saw. So be sure to go onto the YouTube channel and check out my 2026 NHL Winter Classic at Lone Depot Park video.
Perfect. And then the other major story, this is maybe the biggest story since the Panthers won the Stanley Cup, and that's the University of Miami is now in the semifinal of the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Huge upset against Ohio State. Redemption for 2003 in the Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State. And they are now going to be playing Ole Miss
on Thursday, Hotty Toddy in Arizona. This is a huge game because, as you guys know, if and when we beat Hotty Toddy Ole Miss, we will be in the national championship that will be held down here at Hard Rock Stadium. It'll be extraordinary.
Yeah, and there's a developing story right now in this as well. Many of you know that Ole Miss had Lane Kiffin, their coach.
Yes.
He accepted a job with LSU, so he had to obviously resign from his position and accept that new job. And in doing so, there was a big situation regarding his assistants and personnel on the staff. Charlie Weiss, the offensive coordinator who's coaching Notre Dame, is coaching the NFL. He has stayed on, but some other assistants, they're negotiating as we speak because they might not be at practice tomorrow if LSU and Lane Kiffin decides to take them from their job. So this is a crazy story developing with the game just 5 days away.
Definitely. So we're all looking forward to Thursday. In the chat, Jonathan, that Winter Classic game looked pretty damn cool. It was amazing. I can't wait to tell you guys all about it in this week's episode.
Jonathan, stay tuned, man. We got something coming up for you.
We also have MRRF in the house. Hello. All right, guys. So let's get into some Dolphins talk, right? So a lot has happened within the last few days. The biggest story, in my opinion, has been Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman has been announced.
That happened on New Year's Day.
Yes. So Troy Aikman, as you guys know, Cowboys great, one of my favorite quarterbacks growing up personally, was named as a consultant to find the new general manager for the Dolphins moving forward. This spot has been pretty much vacant. We have an interim GM, but Champ Kelly, but there's not a permanent GM in spot right now. So Troy Aikman has been brought on to help with that search. What's very interesting about this, there's a few things. We're going to talk about it really quick. The Dolphins have a tendency to keep people in the Dolphin organization, Nat Moore, Dan Marino. So we like to use our own. And of course, Troy Aikman knows football. He's won a Super Bowls. He is, we saw him last night on TV. Kind of funny if you guys caught on to it. His little mishap on the word, ha, ha, ha. We'll talk about that later. But let's talk about Troy Aikman and his resume. He was the number 1 pick in the 1989 NFL draft coming from UCLA. He's the 3-time Super Bowl champ. He's MVP of Super Bowl 27, a 6-time Pro Bowler, NFL Man of the Year in 1997, and the NFL Hall of Fame class of 2006 first ballot. So this man knows football. His resume speaks for itself, and I'm personally excited to see what he's going to contribute to, obviously, the GM search and hopefully the head coaching position as well.
Yeah, so you see the resume here. It speaks for itself. He's just 59 years old. He's since he's been retired, he spent 24 seasons as a lead analyst, first for Fox. So he was 20 years at Fox, and the last 4 years he's teamed up with Joe Buck on Monday Night Football. Yeah. And where does this come into play? Well, it comes into play here. In doing these games, and as a lead analyst, he normally gets the big games, right? And so by getting these big games, he has to meet with the coaches, the players, the general managers, pretty much everybody from both organizations leading up to the game. And this is where he gets his connections. This is where he gets the insight from both teams throughout the season, and it's invaluable insight. And let's face it, what's been happening in the Dolphins organization in the front office and in the admin positions has not really parlayed into wins on the field. And so you need to bring a fresh voice from the outside. And Troy Aikman's, first of all, what he did as a player, you see it also there. He was the NFL Man of the Year. So he's just an overall all-around guy. Pull that screen off a second.
You got
it. And so, the fact that he is, he has so many connections, has so many things going for him. This is a perfect guy to bring in.
In the chat, they're pretty much saying exactly what you're saying. I also, Cap in the house, our brother Cap. I also believe that Aikman and Highsmith won Super Bowls together in Dallas. I think McDaniel is gone. I think he is a dead man walking. Let's see. Russ says Troy transferred from Oklahoma after injury to US here. And then Big Sis Lisa, Joey loves the fact that Joey loves the facts like Aikman's resume. No, it speaks for itself. Yep. It's fantastic.
And so a lot of people also have been putting it out there. Well, why would you bring in Troy Aikman, who had great stats? You saw it there. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he didn't have the stats that Dan Marino had. Marino doesn't have Super Bowl rings like Troy Aikman does, but Marino and Aikman, statistic-wise, it's not close. Marino was the better overall quarterback. Aikman just happened to be on a better overall team. Yeah. So a lot of people are wondering, why would they not stay within the organization and get Dan Marino? Well, a lot of people forget about this, but if you see it right here, this is a story written by Tim Reynolds from the Associated Press, which we are hoping to have on a future show here coming up. But Tim Reynolds, wrote this story. A lot of people forget that Dan Marino was hired by then Dolphin owner Wayne Huizenga in a capacity role as the senior vice president and control football operations. This was 4 years after he retired. And as you see it there, within days, just 3 weeks into his job, 3 weeks into the job, Marino resigned. So look, Marino, as obviously talented, and he will forever be the face of the franchise, he does not want that responsibility. He hasn't been on the road covering games and networking with other teams, other broadcasters, speaking to GMs. He has not done it. He's content being a figurehead. He's content being the ambassador for Dolphin football, but he does not want to make those moves. And the fact that he's not been in the game and involved like Troy Aikman for all these years, I don't think Marino's a good candidate. So I think Troy Aikman is a perfect man for the job.
Cap says if McDaniel gets blown out today in New England, he's gone. Plus, Alonzo Heitzman is the senior scout in New England. Cap likes Alonzo Heitzman. Troy has to keep those Cowboys personalities in check. Jeremy, who we hung out with at the Winter Classic. Jeremy. What's up? Good to see you in the chat. All right, guys. And sweet Paul from England. It is not midnight there. It's a midday over in England. So we're excited to have you. All right. So another story we want to talk about is, you guys already brought it up, Coach McDaniel. This is the last regular season game of this season. Coach McDaniel has been our coach all season, despite many people thinking he'd be gone by week 5, week 7. And here we are, last game of the season, and he is still our coach. So with the Dolphins needing to make some other big decisions, this is one on top of the list, right next to needing to find a new GM.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned in the room, I forgot who it was, about if we get blown out today. Well, Jonathan says he's not getting fired, even if they get blown out. I think the decision's getting made. First of all, I don't think the Dolphins are going to win today. I mean, we'll get into it in a second here. But Jonathan, this is directly towards you, man. I want you to chime in, try to convince the room, convince me why he deserves to stay. But look, I think the decision's been made. Hopefully Ross did the right thing. Before you show this, can you go back to Troy Aikman's quote? Since we're speaking of Troy Aikman, a couple of weeks ago, we were in Pittsburgh for the Monday Night Football game, so we weren't able to see this. But as you see here, Troy Aikman, you want to read it?
Yeah, so this is a game where, like Lou mentioned, we were in Pittsburgh, so we didn't hear this live, but we heard the repercussion of this. Troy Aikman said live on TV, "I'm flabbergasted by what we've witnessed here in this fourth quarter with the Dolphins," Aikman said at the time. "And now they just want to call timeouts. It's just as ridiculous as a fourth quarter as I've seen in a long time."
And he says also there that he bashed McDaniel later on for saying that it's a bizarre last few series. That's hardly a ringing endorsement, from Aikman, as you can see there. So go back to McDaniel's resume here. We were at that Monday Night Football game, as mentioned, and we were up in the stands screaming, "Hey, why is there no sense of urgency?" Now, you could say that Tua was a quarterback. McDaniel didn't feel comfortable with him. But when you're down 28-7, you can't be taking the play clock down to 2 or 3 seconds. You got to, have a sense of urgency, and there was none of that. And that's why Troy Aikman was baffled. Now, that's not saying that because he made those comments, he's going to suggest to Ross that he should be fired. But I believe he should be fired based on his merits or lack thereof. And we're going to look at it right here. Overall record, 35-32. Playoff record, 0-2. His record in December and January is 9-14. This is a huge one right here. Versus teams above 500, he is 4-17. Now, read that part and then read the second part. The Colts and the Ravens are currently at 500. So if the Colts win and the Ravens win, and should the Dolphins lose to the Patriots, that record actually becomes 4-20. 4-20, which means that he would go 1-7 this year against teams above 500. Last year, his record was 0-5 against teams in 500, over 500. So I'm sorry at this point, and I want to get your opinion on it. I want to get the room's opinion on it, but the resume speaks for itself. His body of work, what he's done, or the lack of what he's done, is where we're at now. You've already gotten rid of Greer. You benched Tua. This is the third domino to fall. It has to be. It has to be. He should not survive all this because ultimately he is responsible for it. Okay? He's had the last 2 years arguably one of the best running backs in the league, if not the best. And previous to that, he had the top receiver in football. So he has had the opportunity to get things done. I also want to bring up that he has been doing this with a second place schedule. Okay, when he took over the team, the Dolphins actually finished in third place. So he had a third place schedule his first year. And yet, look at his track record against teams over 500. It's just not good, and it's not good enough.
Cab likes somebody's inconsistent. I mean, that's very, very true. He is a likable guy off the field, but it's not working down here for him, for us, for the team. Change needs to be done. So I do hope that whoever is hired as the GM does bring in their own people, which you see in all types of businesses anyways. When you have a new head honcho, they usually bring their own people, and hopefully, in other words, it's going to be a rebuild, and it is going to start with the GM, head coach, and then obviously fall into quarterback, which brings us to our next point.
Well,
Quinn.
But what's your opinion?
He needs out. I've been saying this for weeks. He needs to be out. This season has dragged on. He's not proven to be better. He's stuck at this place. Maybe he goes a little higher, a little lower, but it's here. The players, we don't really see what goes on, in the locker room, but he needs to be out. He needs to be out. I cannot see a GM coming down here hungry to want to build something great here, having this guy as the head coach. It's not going to work. So he needs to be out.
Yeah. And I think the proof is in the pudding. When you're 4-17 and potentially 4-20 overall in your career, in your 4-year career as a coach with teams against teams that are 500 or above, it tells you everything. So anybody that thinks, and that's why I don't believe that whatever happens today will decide whether he keeps on coaching or not. Okay, I also want to take you back to, and I've had fun with the statements and all that. Take this picture off.
You got it.
I've had fun with the statements, right? Because last game of the year, Dolphins needed help from the Kansas City Chiefs. That never happened, so the Broncos blew them out, and we didn't have a chance to go into the playoffs anyway. But we lost to the Jets. Tyreek Hill famously quit on the team. Mm-hmm. And despite all that, at the end of the season, Stephen Ross released that statement saying Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer will be back. We're moving forward, but we have a higher standard now that we have to achieve. So my question to you guys in the room and to everybody out there in general, and what are you going to do today? If you put out that statement last year, and the statement didn't come on Monday, it came on Sunday night after that game in New York. Okay, so if you don't, you have to say something, right? You can't just he comes back and he's back for next year. You got to release a statement. So what are you going to say to top last year's statement? it's indefensible at this point.
3 words. He is out.
That's what it should be.
That's all it is.
That's what, or don't do anything. And tomorrow, just like everybody else in the league, there's going to be about 6 to 7 teams that are predicted to fire their coach.
Yeah.
Stephen Ross, do the same thing.
Russ asked the same question.
Join them and fire Mike McDaniel on Black Monday. It is a national holiday for NFL fans of fan bases with teams that are not doing well. Fire Mike McDaniel tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's saying exactly what you're saying. Sweet Paul from England, his stats are nearly as bad as the Jets. Big Sis Lisa said the Jets are cash land for 15 years. So, I mean, if we're going to compare to the Jets, that's terrible comparison. Moondog in the house, terrible record against good teams. He likes Chris Shula. Talking about Shula, happy birthday in heaven to Coach Don Shula. Today would have been his birthday. Speaking of, Chase, we can all agree that McDaniels needs to go. Let's get louder.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right, let's move on to the next thing here that we're going to cover, which is the draft. So the draft position is important because right now the Dolphins are listed as they have the 11th pick currently going into today's games. Now, if you look at that, they are tied with a couple of teams. Well, they're tied with Atlanta, who they beat, and also Dallas is directly behind them. But I want to focus on the New Orleans Saints and also the Cincinnati Bengals, because if they win, Kansas City wins, and Cincinnati wins, we could potentially all be 7-10. You'd have to go to – there's too many scenarios. But bottom line is this. The Dolphins could get to as high as number 8 potentially with a loss today. And if they lose, they could drop back to maybe 13 or 14, depending on what the other teams do. So currently they hold the 11th spot. And again, there's nothing going on with the victory here. So, and playing New England, I don't expect them to win. So hopefully the Dolphins are picking at that 11th, or if things fall the right way, they can move up a little bit.
Big Sis Lisa says, what team do you think should be number 1 what do you think is going to be number 1 in the 2026 NFL draft?
Well,
projected. So,
the Vegas is set up to, if they take that loss today, they're number 1. Yeah.
All right, so we shall see. And then, with the Dolphins and the draft, this has always been the Chris Greer show, right? And there's always been questionable draft picks. I mean, we can spend a whole show talking about what worked, what has not worked, more have not worked down here than what has worked. So this is going to be a very interesting draft, given that Chris Greer is no longer in the driver's seats. So maybe this is the year that the draft really turns out to work in our favor. Yeah, we'll see how it works. Maybe we trade up a little bit and get something nice.
We could. And maybe Mike mentions there that we just need a quarterback. Quinn has been doing all right. We'll see what he does today in his first road start against the Patriots that are, amped and pumped to win this game today. But if you look at this draft order as well, you figure the Giants already have their quarterback in Dart. Tennessee obviously has Cam Ward. Arizona, we don't know about Kyler Murray or not. Cleveland has picked like 15 quarterbacks in the last 3 drafts. Washington has Daniels. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at teams like Vegas, obviously the Jets, potentially Arizona, New Orleans. So there are some teams that are ahead of the Dolphins right now that have a higher pick and are likely to pick a quarterback. So
A.K.A. Mendoza.
Yeah, the Heisman Trophy winner is going to be in high demand by a lot of teams there.
We would love to bring him back to the 305. As you guys know, he is from down here, went to Columbus High School, and we'd love for him to play down here at the Hard Rock with us. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to you want to bring standings. Let's bring up the standings.
So going into today's game, obviously, there's a lot that could be at play here. But look, I'm looking at this. There's a lot of games that could factor in, but I am looking at this Sunday night football game. We mentioned it last episode. This Sunday night game tonight is for all the marbles, and not just the AFC North, but I think the loser of this game is going to have their head coach fired. And if it's the Ravens, it could also mean that Lamar Jackson is on his way out. So this game tonight, believe it or not, could be huge for the Dolphins because Mike Tomlin, who was a tremendous coach, Super Bowl winning coach, as is Harbaugh, winning Super Bowl coach with the Ravens. You have 2 potential coaches here in Tomlin and Harbaugh that have won Super Bowls that could be let go by their team. I'll take it a step further with the way that things are going for both these franchises, specifically Pittsburgh, which we were just at. The Steelers are primed to move on. The fans are definitely ready to move on from Tomlin. So I don't even think the AFC North division title saves, Tomlin's job. I think he needs to win in the playoffs where he has not done so for a long time. So look, if these 2 guys are available and the Dolphins don't fire McDaniel by tomorrow, you may lose out on one of these two guys. So it is very important to monitor what happens in this game today and what happens tomorrow after the result of this game.
Speaking of games today, Dolphins play New England Patriots at 4:25. Week 18 games are always announced as TBD, TBA because of the implications and how they want it to be, how big games at night and all that stuff. So today at 4:25, the Miami Dolphins will play the Patriots. It is cold in New England, as one would expect. It is about in mid-20s, upper 20s. There's no sun. Dolphins typically do not play well in the cold, so it's going to be very, very tough for the Dolphins to win this game. On top of that, many players are not even playing today. Jalen Waddle, Achane. There's tons of you guys probably have heard that we're not going into this full force. We have nothing really to win for. The Patriots obviously have more that they're going for. And for us, I personally feel like just get the game over with and let's start rebuilding for next year.
Yeah, and you mentioned Achane, Waddle are out. Numerous other players. You still got about 4 hours to go before kickoff here. So numerous other players may also be downgraded or listed as out altogether. The Patriots are playing for potentially a number one spot. They are, the Broncos and the Chargers game will be taking place at the same time. So they will not have the luxury of resting players or seeing what happens in that game first. The games are starting at the same exact time. So now if you go into halftime and the Broncos are winning 45-0, maybe New England calls the dogs off like they did last week against the Jets. But for all intents and purposes, they are going out to play. I will also add that, again, this is not in the grand scheme of things important, but with Matthew Stafford's bad performance against the Falcons on Monday Night Football, Drake May is now the favorite to be the MVP of the league.
It's wild.
So if he comes out here and throws a couple touchdowns, maybe runs for another, he's probably going to win the MVP of the league, which is an unbelievable situation here. It will also mean that the last two MVPs of the league will be from the AFC East. Josh Allen last year and potentially Drake May this year. So a lot to do here. Did you mention the spread at some point?
I didn't mention
so the spread opened up at 10 points earlier in the week, but now with Waddle and Achane ruled out, it's dropped. It's higher. It's gone to 12. So the Patriots are now 12-point favorites in this game. And look, I just don't see any way with all that's on the line for New England that the Dolphins can come out of Foxborough with a win. As you mentioned, it's going to be in the upper 20s, but it's going to be dark, no sun. So it's going to be very cold. And, we were just in this position a couple weeks ago in Pittsburgh. The Dolphins' record is 0 of their last 14 when the temperature are, I believe it's under 35 or 30 degrees.
Like when it's freezing.
Yeah. So it's going to be freezing there. And I don't see the Dolphins coming out with a win here. I predicted it on last week's show. I'm going to say the same result. I think it's going to be 35-20 New England in this one. What do you got?
I like to say it would be so Dolphin-like for them to win. I tend to say that like optimistically. You guys have heard me say it throughout the season. However, I'm not going to use my term this year going into 2026. It would not be so Dolphin-like because Dolphin-like, it's terrible right now. The Dolphins are going to get crushed in Gillette today. I don't see how we would be able to pull this off. Achane, our best running back, is not playing. You have our backup quarterback, Quinn, which I do believe in Quinn. I just don't think it's going to happen today. I think we're going to get crushed. I think the final score will be 35-10 New England.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't fault you for that. And it looks like, the Dolphins are really up against it here. That's why I'm wearing black. This is it is the finale of the season. And so, I don't have much hopes. But again, I don't think today's outcome will change what's already put in place. I think Ross already knows what he's doing. It's amazing. Reports have come out on both ways. Nobody's been able to hammer down what he's thinking. It's pretty much 50-50. We don't know if he's coming back or if Ross will. But I believe, again, the decision has already been made. I don't think that it's going to go back from that.
Speaking of decisions that are already made, we are starting to build our 2026, we meaning the Miami Dolphins, 2026 opponents. As you guys may or may not know, schedules are built a few years in advance. So we already knew some of our 2026 opponents. However, some of these late season games did have an impact of our games moving forward for the 2026 season. Our away games, obviously, we go to Buffalo, New York, and New England. The other games that we will be going to, meaning the Dolphins, Green Bay, Vegas, Minnesota. Colts again. That's the third year in a row that the Dolphins will be going to Indianapolis, and then it will either be San Francisco or LA, depending on the implications of that.
Yeah. So this schedule release here is brought to you by 305 Sports Travel. We were at 4 spots this year, and we'll see where the schedule ends up and where we make it out to in 2026. But yeah, you mentioned that the third year in a row we're at the Colts. Also on the home side, this is now the second year in a row that the Chargers will come here. That we were earlier this year.
Yeah.
Horrible loss. And another horrible loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's a tough break because Burrow being out all those games dropped them to 3. And so now we're going to end up facing Joe Burrow again at home. So yeah, it's a tough schedule. As far as the last game, if the LA Rams win today, it'll be San Francisco. We'll be going to San Francisco. If the Rams lose, we'll be going to the LA Rams next season on the road. And no international games this year.
Thank goodness. No, just kidding. If we ever were to have another international game, I would love to go to Mexico or Italy. Those are personally two of my favorites. But everything's home this year are true home games for the Miami Dolphins.
You're right. All right, you got the show questions. Guys, before we get out of here, I want to thank everybody who participated in our contest this year. We ended up doing every week. We had a question for you guys, and so it came down to the final. We'll go back to the first one.
I have to download them first.
Okay. It came down to Kirk and Eddie, Fast Eddie, Eduardo. But again, thanks for Miami Mike in the room. I know Chase, you're in the room. Russ, obviously. For all you guys who participated and played along all year, we had a lot of fun with it. We had a lot of interesting questions that we asked. We even asked a great question in Spain. We had a 3-question series that was more like Super Bowl. So
you mentioned who's left. You have Kirk and Eddie.
We're down to 2. It's Kirk with a 2-point lead, and there's 2 questions, obviously. So Eddie needs to – you got another hour to submit your picks, Eddie. You got to get them in. I'll remind you one last time, but by 1 p.m., we'll have our answers here, and here are our questions. The first one is Drake May combined passing and rushing yards over under 285.5. And the second one is, will the Dolphins cover a 12.5-point spread? Yes or no? So Kirk and Eddie have already been asked these questions, and if you guys want to chime in, go ahead. I put it at 12.5 because the line was 10, but I knew guys were going to be out, and so it's going to be tough for the Dolphins to get this win today. But what do you guys think? Give you guys a couple of seconds here to answer these questions. If you guys like, play along.
Russ says no, and then he said Fish will not cover. Miami Mike says over, that Drake May will have over 285.5 yards, and no, the Dolphins will not cover that 12.5-point spread.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like
Sweet Paul says over for Drake May, and the Dolphins will not cover that 12.5-point spread. You also have Robert saying that Drake May will be under that 285.5 yards, and the Dolphins will cover the spread. And then Big Sis Lisa her time is up. Thank you for a great show because we're busy getting ready for football. Take care. Love you. We love you too. Enjoy your Sunday football, last regular season Sunday of the season.
Yeah. And on that note, guys, we're going to head out as well. Do want to make mention, of course, that if you're watching on X or Twitter, come on over to YouTube. Make sure you drop a like, hit that like button down here, and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. We're looking to do a show next on Wednesday. We're trying to make it on Wednesday. If not, we will keep you updated.
It won't be on Thursday, I'll tell you that much, because we have a Canes game to watch. So
that's right.
It will not be Thursday. You will not see us Thursday at all.
So hopefully Wednesday is when we're aiming to do our next show. And by Wednesday, we should already know if the Dolphins have retained Mike McDaniel or not, and where we're headed. Hopefully Troy Aikman gets into Ross's ear. We figured this GM situation out. We figure out, if McDaniel's hopefully no longer here, and what we're going to do with our quarterback situation. You got Quinn Ewers coming in. Are you going to draft a quarterback? Are you settled with having Tua as a backup for at least one more year? A lot of questions will be answered in the next couple of days. We are looking forward to talking about it all. So again, guys, make sure you like today's episode, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy your Sunday, last full Sunday of NFL games, and we shall see you back here Wednesday.
Bye, guys.